Are you live over there on the right? Whoever I'm seeing.
Yeah, yeah, we're both here. He's trying to set up our live stream, so
Okay.
so we can also be showcasing it to everybody too today.
So you given more thought to coming out here west sometime and visiting with me, and we'll talk about how we do more things together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do want to. I still hope to. I
Cool.
think it's got very crazy around here the past month or so, but
Well, that'll unmute you when you're ready.
we're ready. We're ready.
If he's ready, if you're ready.
I think we're
Yeah,
good.
yeah. We're gonna live stream on Ryan's
On
group
Twitch.
also,
Yeah.
so Twitch. So
So we'll see how many people tune in for us.
yeah. Well, we
I
have
think
about
yeah.
10x number of people who watch replay within the first week than we do
Cool.
live. We always have a lot smaller live audience. So
That's
make
okay.
sure we know we're really broadcasting to a remote replay audience as well as our live audience. Anyway, it is Wayne Dorband and Ryan Margulis, and we are excited to be chatting with you folks today and being both live on audio and live video. I am in Riggins, which is where I have my new um, resort and lodge and community. And that's an original painting behind me by a Western artist. And I can't remember exactly which one. We have several that did some paintings for previous owners. And Ryan is in front of his cart that we'll be talking about that's not live, but obviously in the evening, and you can see it's some kind of an event. What kind of event was going on when that picture was taken?
That's like a block party there for one of the
Okay,
developments. It was called CX Summer. It's a Cambridge Crossing, a newer real estate development in Cambridge.
okay. Well, let's start
Yeah.
there because Cambridge may be a name that not everybody knows. So
Sure.
tell us about first. Let's start with your location. Then I'm going to ask a little bit more about your past. So
Sure. Yeah, so we got two trucks right now where we mostly are in Boston and Western Massachusetts, which is a place called Worcester. And yeah, we go all around the state. We go to New Hampshire as well, and we last year we did the New York State Fair. It doesn't seem like we'll be going to New York this year, but yeah, we go all around the East Coast really, selling our honey grilled cheese where we partner with a bunch of local beekeepers as well as use our own honey, and then we partner with a local butcher, local bread makers to kind of bring this community together for a really good food experience. So we do our best to support all local and to incorporate these great things into our food trucks.
and on the cheese side, is that
Yeah,
locally processed
I
also?
don't have a local cheese person yet. Um, we just go through so much of it. I just haven't found the right fit yet. So I just bounce around still with the cheese. However, I do source some of our specialty cheeses from a smaller farm in New York. Um,
No.
and
Reeb were okay. Reeb just changed the screen so that he's showing. All right, cool. All right. Um, so tell me about how many different, so if on any given day on your menu, about how many different cheeses do you have?
cheeses like five
How about
American, Havarti,
how about
Buffalo,
honeys?
cheddar. Honeys. Lately we've had a lot. So we've had some clover and wildflower, which we always have. We've started to incorporate our hot honey, which we always have now. That's a hot habanero infused honey. And then recently, one of our partners started making a whipped honey line, where we have lavender infused, we have Thai cinnamon infused, and then we also just have just the regular whipped honey. So, and actually we had a vanilla bean too. So lately we've had a ton of different types of honeys.
So how unique is a grilled cheese and honey sandwich, or is it fairly I'm going to use the word proprietary, but unique to you?
Yeah, yeah, I would say 90 to 95% of people have never had it that I meet. Um, so there's always the handful of people who have had it, but I would say it's definitely not common.
And what would people want to drink with it if it's non-alcoholic? And then what would they want to drink with it if it was alcohol?
Let's see. I think, a nice lemonade for me, it's always going to be like a raspberry honey lemonade.
Okay.
Um, or if it's alcoholic, ciders. I'm a cider guy, but we've been to a lot of breweries and a lot of people like pairing it with all kinds of beers.
I am a bread snob. So we
Okay.
didn't talk about breads yet. And when I
Yeah.
say snob, there are bread. I will not something like Wonder Bread or some stupid store-bought white bread that obviously I don't have any opinion about this. I'm joking, but so I like to eat artisan type breads. But is there a bread that you focus on, or do you use multiple different kinds of breads?
Sure. So we basically strictly use Texas toast.
Okay.
And we get that from George's Bakery. They're pretty big purveyor around here. They source from a lot of local bread makers. Because sometimes we get like a lot. We're about to have our probably our biggest what would I call it? Convention for sure. Our biggest convention of the year. We're going to be at PAX East at the Boston Convention Center. So they'll have close to 70,000 people over the weekend.
Wow.
Um, and we'll be doing that in about 2 weeks. So we'll get, I don't know, 500 or more loaves of bread.
Wow.
And that'll take them a good 4 or 5 days to source that.
Um, Now let's go back a little. Tell
Sure.
us how you got into this. What
Sure.
motivated this kind of business?
Yeah, sure. Um, so when I was in school, I always kind of went down the entrepreneurship route. I had my own paper route that I did, by myself starting in third grade, but I used to do it with my brothers and sisters, or sister rather, when I was younger. So I kind of always had this business mentality. At a young age, I had learned about bookkeeping and just general business. Um, and when I was in college, I had made up my mind I would create my own business. And I really wanted to create a business that was about community and about more than just making money. So I originally had come up with the idea of a fundraiser to do at some music festival. And that back then it was just, trying to have fun, travel a little, and be around an environment where I was, happy, and having fun. Um, and I guess I kind of came to that point in college. I was heavily influenced at Emmanuel College by Sister Dorothy Stang, and she did a ton of work in the Amazon to help the people who live there get reallocate their land back. Basically, it was completely taken over by loggers, and they were forced out of their homes a lot of the times. Sometimes, you know, murdered. And that's ultimately what ended up happening to Sister Dorothy. She established some churches down there. She had this great fund where they were legally fighting against these loggers when she was unfortunately she was assassinated. And basically, I learned about her and these people and these causes and all these um, things that were happening so far away. And I was like, I want to do something to help. So I just kind of began talking about it and trying to do what I could to work with my efforts to help bring awareness to some of these things that were happening. And gradually, as I got into reforestation efforts and just working with some local plant your tree here and doing our own pollinator seed packets, I got more into to bees, and I learned more about honeybees and pollinators, and I learned about the big pollination industry that exists and what happens to honeybees during the pollination process, their life cycle, as well as what they're exposed to with the various pesticides, neonicotinoids, and the various just living conditions, and how I just felt like it was very, very weird and not humane the way we kind of treat these animals. And, it really impacted me in a way where I was like, hey, not only are bees dying at an alarming rate, but the ones that are alive are living on, flatbed trucks, being shipped around the country and being sprayed with poison and living in a truck. So it's all of those things together kind of put me on the path of just trying to spread the mission and the my mission of saving the bees and bringing awareness to this industry that exists, and what wild bees are nowadays, and what even bees are, honeybees and bumblebees and yellow jackets. Like, a lot of people just see black and yellow and they don't really even know what the differences are. So there's all these stigmas that exist, and um some people don't even know bees make honey, and it's so I kind of just adopted this role of trying to educate people about, one of the, or arguably the most important, um, animal for human survival, right now.
How many how many beekeepers do you think are in an urban area typically per, I don't know, whatever the right measurement would be, but like in the Boston area, what are ones you can think of that are in
There's some
pretty
big
urban
ones.
areas? I mean, are there backyard
Oh
beekeepers?
yeah. Oh
Really?
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Urban beekeeping has become a popular thing. And there's a very big organization, Best Bees, who have taken a very scientific approach, as well as their accessibility for urban beekeeping. They are definitely one of the biggest ones in Boston that I can think of.
By the way,
But I would,
one of our audience just said, Steve just said, I am one. So an
your
urban
beekeeper.
beekeeper. Yeah. So
Nice.
pretty cool. So yeah, let's stay with that. How have you created the relationships? Has that been a hard thing? Have you
With
had,
beekeepers?
yeah, with the beekeepers? I would guess not so. It probably is not so hard to do. But
Yeah, I would say not so hard, mostly because for me, I've always approached them from I want to buy your product and market it and use it in my recipes. So there's always kind of this openness when you're willing to, buy stuff from someone, but at the same time, the community itself is certainly very open as far as best practices that they think, and what's worked for them. And I feel like that's something I've learned, is that there's 100 or 1,000 different ways to be a beekeeper. And everybody's got some really good ideas that work, especially for where they are, very localized. And I think that's important. Um, you know.
cool. Let's talk more about Ryan's past now. So
Sure.
take us back to childhood days, and tell us a little bit about your family then and your
Yeah.
family now. And I think there's a little one in your family now, even.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I grew up in a place called Lowell, Massachusetts, um, known for the big industrial revolution, Francis Cabot Lowell. Um, I mean, he's known for going over there and taking all their what did he steal all of the blueprints for like to spearhead our industrial revolution,
Is that
essentially.
right?
And basically, grew up in Lowell. I've always gone to Catholic school my whole life. Went to Franco-American, um, and then I went to Central Catholic High School and then Emmanuel College. So religion's always been a big part in my life. I got one brother, one sister. Now I have four nephews, niece, and I have a son. And I'm engaged to Kate,
So
and
back
she's great.
back on the Catholic side, I grew up
Sure.
next to a Catholic family, and in the past, you used to hear, well, Catholic families are oftentimes large. You didn't have, 10 brothers or sisters, six or
Oh,
whatever. Your parents must have just decided to, we're going to keep it a little bit smaller. So,
yeah.
uh,
My mother was one of I think eight, I believe. So she
uh,
had a big family. My father not quite as big, one of three. Um, but my dad would have wanted more and more kids, but it was just wasn't in the cards at the time for them.
just because of the timing of it, what's your feeling about a replacement for our now recently deceased Pope, and do you have some guesses as to where that person might come from and what view they might have, whether it's going to be similar to the most recent Pope or to ones in the past?
Yeah, I don't have any guesses, but I'm definitely excited to see who does step up, and I'm sure it will most likely be very different opinions. And I think that it will be it's always to me, fun to follow along and see, the various processes and uh, but I do think that he'll be different.
By the way, everybody, one of the ways Ryan and I first connected is through both of our mutual spiritualities, and I'm a Christian as well as Ryan is through his Catholicism. I'm not a Catholic, but I have very many really great friends that are Catholics, and so I understand and know that church pretty well. I was going to say, related to your Catholicism,
Sure.
um, what what do you think is what role did that have in motivating what you're doing now in business in your life?
I mean, probably the biggest. Um, I think for me, I always had a friend in Jesus, and I think as I grew and learned about life and what kind of helped me enjoy life more, being closer to God, that I found more joy in working towards a bigger goal than working towards a bigger sum of money. And I think that of course, money is such a big part of life, but that through my faith, I've learned that there's a bigger goal here for me. And as I get closer to where I want to be in my life, I'm building a stronger connection with God, and I'm building, I'm spreading word. So,
Well, we have a previous guest and even partner of ours, Mike Warren. That's just a little update for our audience who did a series of webinars with us. And by the way, we're hoping that we can convince Ryan to end up doing a series with us. And once we finish this one, we'll probably just plan that. And the whole idea would
sure.
be to give us an education about beekeeping and other things of that kind of ilk. And Ryan's got some other things he does in his professional life too. We'll talk about those in a second.
Sure.
Um, but anyway, Mike Warren, the fellow that I mentioned, and his wife are retiring now. But Mike is a vet. Mike makes some supplements for horses, and he um, has gone through various different phases of his spirituality through his life. was raised as a Christian, but went through a phase when he wasn't probably acting as much as he maybe would look back on and say he should have in a Christian
Sure.
way, but he's now back to where he is. And we were talking yesterday about just business funding mainly because he's always in a role of trying to get something he's doing to be funded. And my
Sure.
guess is you are also. That's typical of entrepreneurs. Anyway, he made a statement that we've all heard before, but I really want to remember it more vividly now and more frequently, which is let go and let God.
Yeah,
And
I love that.
and don't let it be that reliant on you, but really be more reliant on God. And and again, Mark and Arib, who work with me and is our producer, and they both have different sort of religiosities and spiritualities, and I think we have to respect everybody's and what they have, and we all just to try to help each other and help the world, and if we have some kind of spirituality in our life, I think we tend to do that a little bit more. So now, saying those things, tell us about other business things you do and that you're interested in.
Sure. So ground level, we're always doing the events. We're always doing either public events, festivals, fairs. We're always working towards new honey recipes, new honey products, whether it be, candles or soaps or different infused honey flavors. One other product we were doing a lot more with in previous years, but we're going to revisit in the coming years. It was our honey subscription service where we partnered with four different farms each year where we targeted specific hardiness zones to incorporate the all of the different plants and flowers into a yearly subscription model. So we would have honey from all these different areas. And the goal there was to incorporate all of the pollens and all the good stuff in with that subscription model. So I hope in the coming years we will be able to revisit this program where we can get more local beekeepers out there in the public forum, as well as help move some of their products. And yeah, so that's one of our bigger projects that, we still do a lot of partnership work, but we're not as focused on that business model. Some other stuff we're working on right now is our food truck collective, where we are empowering local food truck and business owners to get into new demographics, new arenas, all different types of places. And we're still on the ground floor with this, but we do have some people who are going to join in the coming weeks. We'll have our first really big event at the end of next month. And yeah, we recently got a whole entire new CRM platform where we're able to utilize these cross-platform bookings as well as set up these event contracts. And we are slowly working towards the goal of having our own commissary, as well as it'll be
Okay.
a hub where we will have ideally, we're a full service, food truck consultation and booking company as well. And, not only are we providing a place for people to prepare their food, to learn about various policies, but we'll help them get their own media, like these photos. We'll help them get professional media, video. We'll help them with their menu design. We'll help them with their managing their leads, as well as the booking and contract process, the permitting process. So we're really going to be there for people who are, really overwhelmed or, they've been in the industry and they are just being really feeling all of these little things that take up so much time. And I think that for many, many small businesses and many food truck owners, they just wear all the hats and they don't have the time to think about a lot of these things, never mind put them into practice. And it's really just hindering their growth and sometimes and their inevitable, loss. They'll end up um, going under because they're so focused on work, work, work. I need to be somewhere. I need to make money, but that's just a mentality that it's not productive in the industry. There's always work, but it's not necessarily going to make you any money or grow your business. And I think that's something that I'm hoping to bring to the table here. Um, so those are some of the bigger things that I've got going on right now. But we also are just really getting into catering and drop-off catering, where that's a whole nother avenue for food truck and local businesses, and it's just an entire new market. So we're getting some fairly big contracts. We're starting a big one just next month, and we look forward to kind of seeing how that will help us. It's something
By the
I
way,
haven't.
everybody, look how beautiful the wrap on his um, trailer is, food truck as it says, as it would be called. And he and I have talked about that. And he's a very um, I'll just call it stickler for professionalism as it relates to just the little things about his food truck. There are lots of features of it which are they're not unique. They're just very professional. So maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. But
Sure.
you've done some things also which were very intriguing, and we're trying to figure out a way we can partner together
Sure.
with 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 just interviewing and creating material that you've already got in the, as we say, in the can about other people and their businesses. Tell us a little bit about that, because I think you're
Sure.
over 30 even in the number you've done.
Sure. So we're actually really I'm trying to really figure out the best way to tackle this. And I think just recently in the last few days I think I've made a bit of a breakthrough. And what that is culminating to is I'm turning this food truck behind me here into a broadcasting and recording studio. So I'll be able to do those interviews on site. I'll have live feeds of the cooking of me doing these interviews and doing fun commentary, as well as I'll probably have a camera out that right underneath one of those lights, just showcasing where we are. But in general, the reviews are right now about my food and just bringing up bees, seeing kind of what the common knowledge and threshold is for people when it comes to honeybees and just what they think of, when you say bees. And then, we're slowly incorporating other topics into these interviews. And I always like to end it with asking people, what they're thankful for and trying to bring it back home to the message of, being thankful and understanding and appreciating, where we are in life.
Very cool. Um, so uh, I'm going to give a little pitch for a couple of Ryan's colleagues, and also tell him that I haven't forgotten about them and that we want them to figure out how they get out and help us with doing some things. But tell us a little bit about your team, because you've got, I think,
Sure,
some video editors,
sure,
videographer, and so on. So
sure. Yeah, so our team is growing. So I think since we started meeting, uh, it's grown a lot. Some people have stepped away in some lights, but hopefully we'll be coming back. But right now we've got Nick still there. He's heading all the operations. Mike, you just saw Mike. He was over here helping me set everything up. Um, he does all the video and editing currently. We were really working for a while with Max Miola. He's not working with us right now, but I think he'll be back sooner than later. But we've had four interns three are starting in May. And one I am about to hire full time. He's going to be an event specialist working with us, helping us get all of our um, events off the ground and helping me manage new ones and these new clients that we're talking about. And we're going to have at least two of our, well, we're going to have three media focused interns, and mostly they're going to be on promotions, helping us do on-site. Activation stations, whether we're having people try and get them to sign up or engage in raffles or just learn a little bit more about us. They're also going to help us create new events for the communities. In just a couple of weeks, we're going to have our first free lunch program where, I've had an open invitation for people to let me know what they, of an event in need of our services. Where they might not be able to financially compensate. And we're going to be doing these free lunch events. And that's something people will be focused on. And yeah, our team's always growing. I'm putting a lot of energy into getting into more schools. I think this summer and over the last couple months, we'll have been in almost 20 different college campuses. And, I'm meeting students all the time and encouraging them to work with us. And I'm really just creating a lot of those avenues now. We have our, like I said, we are finishing our first round of internships. We're going to have three more, and then we're going to really be able to broadcast their experience. And that's something that I've been working on. We have a really sweet video of our first internships, full cycle of working with us and his progress and what it means to, um, be a part of a team like us.
My so here's a great adventure of spring farming. One of my staff just sent me a text and said, "So let me read this right. So I got the mower stuck again. So we have a zero clearance mower, but it's wet out in our grassy area." And then he goes, "So I got the zero clearance stuck again. Ha ha. I will probably get it going after my meeting." He's got another business that he does, and so he's got a meeting for that. And he said, "Ugh, let's see, what does he finish it? Probably need to get the job of the Kawasaki and its winch. We'll see." So we have a UTV Kawasaki that may have to be what he uses to pull himself out. I don't know where he was at that he got himself stuck.
Oh
Anyway,
man.
I heard them. I don't know whether you guys did, but probably not because I've got a microphone here. But I heard the mower going,
Oh
and
no.
don't know where he got it stuck. But we have a lot of daylight left. We have plenty of time to get it unstuck. Um, so tell us about any other passions that you have, business
Yeah,
or pleasure, that you like to pursue as you see your life progressing.
sure. I'll pop some more right here. Photography and video and broadcasting. I'm an entertainer at heart. I love to put all of my energy into the creative process. So I think as I grow, I'll be more in the public, trying to do more stuff like this and trying to do more interviews with local community members, as well as I'm really trying to figure out how I can honestly, like we get hit up, I don't know, at least every day from one to three charities who want us to do fundraisers for them. So I'm really trying to figure out a system where I can community fund these efforts. So, these charities, whether they're utilizing our services for future donation purposes or whether or not I'm using like a GoFundMe where I can host these opportunities for a public forum where people can fund these fundraisers and fund these other efforts. Because I mean, I can't do a charity event every day. I can't do three a week. but I'd love to. I'd love to do everything for free for people. That's my goal here. My goal is to create a public forum and community where, everyone gives just a little and there's plenty for everybody. And one way that I'm really trying to do that is through Twitch. A lot of people may not know this, but through Twitch, through Amazon Prime, they all have a free subscription, which they could subscribe to me or any creator for free every month, in turn giving this creator, about $2.40 a month. And if I can just convince enough people to give me this free subscription, that it might take them 5 to 10 minutes to sign up and a couple minutes every month, there'll be so much I could do.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Very cool. Is that a program for nonprofits? Is it for
No,
any
for
kind of
anyone.
anybody that's a Prime member? Cool.
Anybody who has an Amazon subscription, and they can go on their Prime dashboard and they can go to Prime Gaming and go right over to linking their account for free and subscribing for free. And to me, it would like about $2.40 a month. And
Wow.
my goal is this year, I hope to have at least 1,000. And I'd like to have a lot more. We had over 40,000 customers last year, and I believe that a large majority of those people, a very large majority, have no idea about this program. So,
Very cool. Well,
yep.
let's get to a few questions from our audience. We still have
Sure.
quite a bit of time left, but one comment is we have one very loyal and been with us forever, a long time, 8 years or so, um, who travels quite a bit. And her name's Alicia. And today she's in, isn't it fitting, Clover, Virginia.
Oh, cool.
So anyway,
Hey.
um, so she asks several questions, but I'm going to start with the one that was in most intriguing to me. Do all bees make honey?
No. In fact, only the honey bees make honey. And there's thousands of bee species, and they're discovering them. I don't want to say daily, but I believe just in the past couple week I've seen a new discovery of a blue bee, and that's previously had not been identified. So there's thousands of species, and unfortunately, most of them are going or endangered or very close to being endangered. Um, but yeah, from my understanding, only honeybees make honey.
Well,
Yeah.
Alicia clarified this one for us, but I'll ask it and maybe Ryan understands it because I'm not getting it. She asks, what is the 7-10 rule for bees? Don't know what
Sick.
she means by that. Do
Does that
you?
have to do with no, I don't. I don't know if that has to do with taking honey,
I don't
perhaps.
know. Or
Uh,
whether it's just something that's general to life. She'll put in. She'll tell us. So answer that for us, Alicia.
when to add a
Um,
honey super. Yeah, see, I think that's from what I'm seeing, it is um when 7 out of 10 of the frames are being actively
oh,
worked on,
oh,
then it's
okay.
time to add more space because essentially to
Okay.
stop the bee from swarming, they need to always have enough space to make more honey because if they feel like they can't grow, their family can't expand and survive, they'll leave and find a new place.
Does the queen really lead that, or does that just
Oh yeah.
happen generally amongst the she does? Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So that's what will happen. Basically, what will happen is um the colony will start to create swarm cells, which are these little peanut shaped um enclosures. They look just like a peanut. And inside will be a future queen. And they'll make anywhere from 3 to 10 of these sometimes. And essentially, they'll all be born, and the strongest one will lead the way.
Oh, cool.
Because
Um,
basically, what the colony believes is and not always, this is not always, but if they can't survive, they need to start over, essentially, to leave. I don't know why that is. I don't know why they create new queens before they swarm. I can only assume it's because they don't think that the queen. I know that sometimes they do it when the queen's not producing enough. But
Right.
yeah, I've always noticed that before swarming, there's a bunch of these queen cups, they're called. And that's usually where someone like me, what I would do is I would take some of those queen cups and frames of brood and create new colonies with them.
And in an urban area, I've heard
Yeah,
some numbers for rural areas, but not urban. What is there a rule of thumb about how far apart you'd want to have a hive from another one if it was just sort of optimal? Or is there, you know, a rule, anything there? Is it just random?
I haven't heard a rule of thumb like that. I've seen lots of bees right next to each other. I've seen,
Well,
um, all our bees are always been right next to each other, mostly because of in the winter time, they'll shield from the wind. But also I do always kind of stagger them. So there's an entrance, exit. So, you know, ideally there is not a ton of bees all going in the same way. They're coming from both uh, directions.
what would be urban predators of bees?
Yellow jackets, bald-faced hornets, mice are very invasive, but they're not necessarily predators, but they'll burrow down inside there. And
Hmm.
depending on how cold of the winter it is, and if the bees have enough energy and food to fight them off, the mice will go and just eat all their comb and um, etc., ruin a bunch of their work. Um, I would say those, I mean, besides the occasional bears, from what
Right.
I've seen, is most invasive is the yellow jackets.
Well, and I think I told you, and
And the
I
mites. I
had
should say
had
mites too.
hives at my rural location, and it was a bear that got to ours. Um,
Yeah.
but will I'll just call it a dog of any kind, feral or whatever, would they affect? Are they going to just stay away from them? I would think
I don't think a
because
dog.
a dog could get bit by a bee pretty easily, couldn't it?
Oh yeah, they would get stung very
Yeah.
often. One of my partners, she's got a bunch of dogs that are always running around the bees. They don't mess around. One of them eats him. Even still, he'll go and eat the bee and get all puffy in the face. Um, but I didn't mention the varroa mite. The varroa mite is basically responsible for the majority of the problems that really have affected the bee species. And it was brought over here, and I don't remember the year, but all of the bees were brought over here from I want to say Europe. And with that came the varroa mite, and it's a very, very invasive species. It attaches to the bees, slowly killing the colony. And essentially, there are treatments. One of the treatments is oxalic acid, which is from my understanding, the chemical makeup in this not the stinger. I don't know. The words escaping me right now, but the venom in the bee naturally occurring is oxalic acid, and when you spray this into the hives, it does neutralize the mites, and it doesn't hurt the bees. But there's a ton of other chemicals that people use to stop this to stop the mites.
And what about diseases? What would be
Sure.
most problematic?
Um, Yeah, there are some diseases I personally haven't seen any. I want to say that there is trying to remember. It starts with Nem.
Nematode?
Let me
which is a
see.
worm. Nematodes are worms. Um,
Um, yeah, there are some. I haven't seen any personally. Um, but there are definitely um, to be honest, I haven't heard of a lot in my experience. There's really just this one and it's escaping me what it's called right now.
oh, it's the
No semi, I think it is.
nosim. Okay. Oh.
No semi and
Um,
B. Um,
Usually somebody from our audience would have weighed in and they didn't here today on their answer from it.
it's no semi,
What
that's the
about let's go back to your food truck a little bit, or the one that
Sure.
we've seen, because you tell us some of the things you've done to it that you're kind of proud of and that maybe are a little unique that you would certainly recommend to other people as they're either modifying, building new, or whatever, a food truck.
Well, first is one thing I would say is you really have to have a good idea where you want to go. Um, because a lot of places have very stricter rules than other places, especially when it comes to, for example, your generator or your maximum capacity for, propane. So I would suggest really understanding where you want to go, and then understanding the fire codes with those places because I mean I don't know I've probably been permitted in a couple hundred different counties, and I still every year I am being told something new that we have to do this or that, and in fact next year they're updating all the policies again, and I know that I'm gonna have to go get my trucks outfitted with something I don't remember, but yeah, I think for me, it's definitely the art, the graffiti and the artist work that I have, the murals. That's definitely unique. And then, we are modifying them quite heavily, like I said. So, bare minimum, people will be able to, play retro video games while they're waiting for their food. And then providing more of a fun atmosphere. We have people who, they're just having a great time. We have sign spinners. We have people who dress up in costumes. We love giving stuff out for free. And I think that's something that goes with the community building. And yeah, I think that there's so many little things when it comes to starting your own food truck, um, that you just
So,
would never.
through the years, I've been to many events where the food provision, for the most part, was through food trucks, whether it
Sure.
was where they're gathered in one location or spread out across a wider area. But
Yeah.
I've never seen a retro video game at a associated with a food truck. Very cool idea to
Thank
keep
you.
people engaged. Where we go back to some of the images of Ryan's trailer. By the way, why do they call them food trucks when they're food trailers?
So,
Is it because people
I have
started with
both.
trucks?
So I have one of each. Some people, I think that there's this little, I don't know. I used to even feel like, I have a food trailer, I have a mobile food establishment, I don't have a food truck,
Right.
but then I got a food truck. So now we have both. And I kind of just think it's more of a marketability thing. People are more like, oh, a food truck. I don't know, maybe they think that's cooler or something like that. There's no photos there of my
Of your truck.
truck. But I can pull some up right here if you give me
You
a
might,
second.
Reeb's got your Instagram account. I bet there's some there. While you're doing it, um, from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, because you do travel a lot, is there much difference in meeting, I'll just broadly call it regulatory requirements for how your kitchen needs to be set up? because you're not a commissary yourself, obviously. So is there differences?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, setup wise, on the health and food safety, I would say there's not a ton of difference. Basically, every single one is going to want you to have the same equipment. Mostly they're going to want a three basin sink and they're going to want a separate hand wash facility. But what many people might not know is, that all that really means is, a free-flowing vessel, with access to hands-free um, paper towels. It doesn't have to
Right.
be a full plumbed-in sink. There's a like that's another thing that I've learned, over the years is what actually qualifies for some of these things. So you do need a sink and you do need, hand washing set up, but it doesn't have to be, you know, what you would think of. And then most of the bigger things I will say are have to do with the fire.
Ah,
And generator. Maximum capacities, like I said, with fuel, housing units, specifically the type of fuel. In Boston, you're not allowed to have gas or gasoline generators. You need to have propane. Maximum capacity is 200 pounds per vessel. It's not like that anywhere else in the state. Um, there's a lot of little things like that.
have you ever been told by some kind of a code regulator, okay, you're out of compliance and do something about it, or is that
My first times in Boston, really just that. You know, I was going to get inspected, and what did they make me do? I think they made me add like metal sheeting along my enclosures. See that metal sheeting down there at the bottom of the truck? I don't think you can see it it's on the back side here. But they made me enclose like our tank or something like that, and they made me change out the generator, no gas.
what this is back to your truck now of your two different rigs. Uh,
Yeah.
did you have to do much out? Did you buy that already set up as a food facility, or did you completely remodel that?
So, I bought it and it was built out, but I did take out all of the equipment except for the refrigeration. Actually, it's a freezer, which I converted into a fridge. But everything else I took out and replaced. And I honestly have already replaced a lot of those things again. You know, Hand wash, heating pump, that blew up this summer. It was winter rather. It must have got frozen and um what else? All of the plumbing, the electrical. Um yeah, that's one thing I'll say is unless it's totally brand new, and if that's the case, you're looking at over $100,000, $1 to $300,000. Like
Wow.
you're going to be fixing a lot of stuff for sure.
Um, is the big event you're doing in the next couple of weeks, the end of May? How many competitors will be there? How many other
So
food?
funny enough, first time in a long time they messed up their contracts. So the way the facility works is all of the actual conventions inside the Boston Convention Center, and then they lease this space. It's called the Lawn on D, a shared space with the city, where the trucks park. However, they didn't book that space with the convention this year because they changed the dates. So we're all going to be inside at satellite pop-up locations, and because of that. There are, I believe, less competitors, but the menus are going to be limited. The options are limited. The cooking spaces, we're going to be on electric griddles now. We're going to be Um, and I'm not sure how many. Let's see. Funny enough, I think she just emailed me about how many. I want to say like 12 or something like that.
That's a
Uh,
smaller number than I thought. So that's why I was just, if you were going to say 100, then I'd say, well, that's a bigger number.
I
Um, so
say 12.
12, okay. Um, I was thinking of something else and then I lost it. You know, one of the things I think you told me when we first talked is, as you're seeing Marie's playing a video here, one of the things
Yeah, use the
you
one.
want to do is to have more lighting coming from your vehicle and your truck, and so that seems to make sense. You know, if there's more lighting, you probably can distinguish yourself from another unit that doesn't have the lighting, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. We're
how
always
how
trying.
would how much of your expense percentage, let's say of $100 of monthly expense, how much of it is labor? How much of it is whatever's involved with the vehicle? And how much of it is materials and supplies? So what you're using to
Definitely,
make your food.
definitely a lot of majority it would be labor,
Yeah.
probably
Uh,
30 to 50%. I'm always
uh,
trying to get lower.
okay.
Um, I think that the reason for that is because we are doing so much, um, and some things just aren't good. Um, so I would say between 30 and 50% is labor. And I would
And where
say
do you find your people?
so they usually find us.
Okay.
I think over the years, we definitely had a lot of friends and family. And in the past few years, it's become a lot more friends of friends and family of those people. Um, and over the last year, it has been a lot of people who meet us and like us. You know, there's a few people in some of these interviews, 3 to 5 actually, who, they're like, hey, you guys seem really fun and I really like this. Do you need help? So, that happens a lot now. At least once a week, I would say, somebody asks for a job.
Cool. Well, we are almost at the top of the hour, and we like to respect our audience as well as our speakers. And
Sure.
thank you so much for doing this.
Heck yeah.
Let's end this, and we're hopefully going to be doing a series of additional
Sure.
sessions with Ryan. But give us some contact info. Marie will show it probably what's the best way to reach you, and we're
Sure.
seeing it here on the screen maybe,
Yeah.
and tell us some things we could help you with.
Definitely right there. Contact us, email right there, beesandthankyou@gmail.com. All those emails get filtered by me. So if you have any questions for me or about specifically the business or bees, you can shoot an email right there or message right there and I'll see it. And I would say the biggest thing we're looking for right now is new sponsors and new people who with new events, who are interested in spreading the message, and are really open to this community funding ideas and trying to help out these charities. I think, um, as I mentioned before, we have a ton of requests, and if people want to help out some of these organizations and help us out, reach out.
Awesome. Well, this has been fun. We're going to
Yes,
do
sir.
another one, I hope, in the future. And
Sir.
everybody, you guys have all been great. Mark and Arib, any questions from you or any last questions? Steve, by the way, came back in and said no SEMA disease, just like you did with a fungal infection. So
Yep.
thank you. And audience, if you would, you know what to do if you like it. Put some ones in. And
No, I
again,
have no questions, but I have this comment. Like, I love the Instagram content they were like putting and the dance, the dancing, the hip hop, and everything.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, I follow it. Anyone who's watching it, go follow them out. Yeah.
Thank you, Arib.
Yeah, my
Take care.
thoughts are it's fascinating to like raise bees and make honey. Great food.
Well,
And
both Mark and Arib are urban. Tell me, do
yes,
either one of you know where the closest beehive is to either one of you?
I got stung by bee several times, so that's my experience.
The last beehive I saw was in my university.
Okay, so at the university.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Because I could see them on rooftops, right? I mean, there's got to be, right, that and the ability for that, right? Ryan, or not? Would they be better off at ground level?
No, it's very popular in the cities now.
Okay.
Yeah, they make nests or hives anywhere. I've seen them on rooftops. Yep.
Well, you must be sweet, Mark. That's why they want to sting you.
Yeah, but it's not fun.
Well, I
It's
I
not
used to
fun.
be allergic for whatever reason. I don't seem to be anymore. I haven't reacted too badly the last couple of times I've gotten stung. But anyway, thanks, Ryan. Thanks,
Of
Mark.
course.
Thanks, Arif. Thank you,
I look
audience.
forward to
And
talking
we will
more.
look forward to talking tomorrow with some of you on the Talk to Wayne and then we'll have a replay on Friday. So 3 days in a row this week, everybody.
Yep.
Have
Come back
fun. Talk to you
tomorrow.
later. Bye bye.